What's up everybody, Farmer Q here, and today I'm just gonna take y'all with me as we go through the garden and we get some cleaning up done, because yeah, the garden is growing with a lot of vigor, a lot of explosive growth, but see, now we're at the point to where we've kind of maxed out what we can really do with our North Georgia Candy Roaster squash. So we're gonna trim some of those leaves back, leave some of the vines in place, maybe even trim some vines. So I also wanna show y'all some of the watermelons, where they're at as far as the growth, because we're gonna have those coming into the late summer and really being productive into that part of the season. And we'll even give y'all a sneak peek of the North Georgia Candy Roaster squash that we got going back here that we'll be ready to harvest a little bit later in the season, but it's looking real nice. So why don't y'all come with me? We're gonna get in the garden, just gonna get after it, have a little fun, so let's get it. All right, so first thing that we wanna do today is just get some of these leaves cleaned up along this vine here. This pathway that we like to walk here is just really getting covered up with leaves, and some of these leaves up in here on the squash plants really just having some trouble growing. They're having some powdery mildew issues because they're so thick up in there. So I'm thinking that we're gonna clean up some of that stuff and come over here and just kind of redirect these vines and get them where they need to be going so that we don't have too much encroachment. So let's get right to that. We're just coming up in here and just chopping these leaves. Not all of them, but just some of them. And I'll just make somewhat of a pile here as we clear this stuff out. You can see this stuff is super tough. These leaves are just ridiculously tough, and it makes for a really good protective stem for those squash vine borer grubs that like to come in and destroy everything. I'm not saying this plant's particularly resistant to it, but I've been keeping an eye out for a lot of this season, and I haven't, well, all the season, and I haven't been seeing the squash vine borers rear their ugly heads as much this season. So as we trim these leaves up the stem here, we're coming up to our first candy roaster. Well, this isn't the first candy roaster squash, but the first one that I'm showing y'all. This is a super beautiful fruit, and she does a really good job out here in my garden in particular. So I'm gonna have to make some decisions as far as growing her next season and see if we can tame her a little bit better. So we're just trying to clear this pathway a little bit and trim off some of these dead leaves to stimulate growth for this plant. Really just help it to give a lot of that energy to the new growth and the fruit that are already established. And like I said, another benefit to this is you can trim off any growth that's not beneficial to the plant in any way. You can also be looking for the squash vine borer grub damage, but some of the fruit they'll establish and some of them won't, because I don't hand pollinate everything because the plants just can't sustain all that. But as you can see here, we got some powdery mildew on the leaves and everything, but that's because this leaf is on the plant that's all the way over here, and it's just trying to get to light, and it's just able to have a stem that grows that long. So we're gonna get up in here and clean some of this up too. We'll harvest this guy because this is a really big zucchini, so we got to harvest that as well. So we're just gonna get a little flexible here and trim these up pretty far back. We don't have to trim them all the way back because the plant's naturally gonna take that stem back as you trim these leaves out. And I'm just trimming some of the leaves that have that powdery mildew on them, and we're gonna use these leaves for our fertilizer mix so we can still get use out of them even though they have that powdery mildew on them. Because when we make our fertilizer mix, it's really just a mixture of the good fungi and bacteria and things of that nature, and they provide a really good environment to get rid of that fungus on the leaves. And look here, we might have some grubs trying to make their way into the plant through the leaves here, but we're gonna keep an eye out. I did do my injections early on in the season and try to get as thorough as I could with really establishing some good pre-inoculation into the stems. I'm probably gonna actually do away with one of these squash plants, maybe two of them, but I don't want powdery mildew to establish itself over here because we have such thick growth. So we're gonna have to make some executive decisions here and really just be looking out for the garden as a whole. So check that out over there. That's part of the reason why we have to really get up in here and get some of these plants taken care of, because yeah, we can't even get to that stuff over there unless we clear out some stuff over here. So we're definitely gonna make sure we get to that stuff. And you see me here inspecting the main stem, making sure that we don't have any damage from any grubs. But these stems get pretty hard. So as they progress, I would imagine they get more resistant to the grubs. But like I said, we just keep an eye out and stay vigilant. We have cantaloupe in here, but the cantaloupe's just not really standing much of a chance with this North Georgia Candy Roaster squash plant here. So this tomato plant right here, I just really don't like how it's growing in this spot. So I'm gonna go ahead and just do away with it. I don't want to pull the whole root system because I want to leave the roots to return some nutrients back to the ground, but we're gonna definitely chop this plant out of the ground here so that we can leave behind all that good stuff for the decomposers. We're gonna pull this plant out, throw it over the fence here. Yeah, this is definitely the plant that we're gonna do away with right here. This is the weakest of all the plants, and it definitely is the carrier for the powdery mildew. So we'll just cut that right there. Let's pull this up completely. Off she goes. In fact, you know what? We'll do away with these plants as well. This plant at least, because these two plants are being productive and are being resistant. So I will also do away with this plant. There we go. And pull this one out. And these plants drink so much water that they literally are dripping with water as you cut them out of the ground. All right, so here we go. Here we go. Boom. Look what we have here. Is this a squash vine borer grub? Definitely is. Well, do y'all see that here? This squash vine borer is definitely targeting these zucchini because we have a squash vine borer grub here. This is some awesome footage, by the way. Still gonna definitely eat this zucchini, but gonna cut off the top section here and eat the bottom section. But let's go ahead and extract this bad boy, why don't we? I'm gonna show you to the people. He's trying to get away. Don't worry, buddy, I'm not trying to get you just yet. So let's get you out without hurting you. You look like you make some awesome fishing bait, buddy. So y'all see that? The squash vine borer grub. He does not play games. He is here to cause massive destruction. So get him out of there. And you know, I'm gonna keep these zucchini plants here because it seems like they're gonna target these plants. And these will be a really good trap plant to keep my North Georgia Candy Roaster squash protected. So we're gonna go ahead and take this guy. We're gonna put you right here and rip. Ooh, ooh, that was nasty. So I'll take this opportunity to go ahead and show y'all another one of the North Georgia Candy Roaster squash that I have in the garden here that is doing its thing. It is super heavy. Oh my gosh, it's heavy. Super dense, very juicy, healthy plant. Super excited to harvest it, but we're waiting for the vines to harden off a little bit more and get more woody, because that's the telltale sign that we're gonna be ready. So I'll go ahead and show y'all a few more. We got one over here that's really picking up size and developing really well. And then I'll show y'all the big kahuna. Check out this North Georgia Candy Roaster squash. Oh my gosh. It is so heavy. Oh my gosh.
This is like just definitely ridiculously big. And the stem on it is actually starting to get woody here on the tips. So it's getting close. This one's definitely getting close to harvest. So we're gonna keep an eye on this big one. And we're definitely gonna get a weight on it. But it's, man, this is massive. It's nice and hard. You can see it starting to get nice and orange. It's getting those stretch marks on it. Oh my gosh, getting hungry just looking at you, baby. So I figured, why don't we come over here and see if we got some peppers we could harvest. And sure enough, we do. We got some Berbere coffee brown chili peppers here. So check these out. Super pretty. They're a spicy pepper. They finish out with that coffee brown color to them. And we're gonna definitely put these off to the side right here. And I'm gonna go ahead and cut this right here, because I really don't want that vine growing into this part of the garden. So back to the lovely pepper harvest we got going on here. This unexpected, somewhat expected pepper harvest. So, my goodness. We'll go ahead and cut this one away. These got ate up by something, so we'll cut them off the plant. We got to get some structure for these peppers though. We got to definitely get some kind of support going for these peppers, because they're definitely they're growing kind of wild here. We still have to make sure we harvest the peppers on them, even if they're not growing perfectly. Sometimes you just get some different kinds of growth. Clean these plants up some. These are the Murasaki purple peppers, and these have been being assaulted by some mice, I think, and we got some stuff out here to take care of the mice, so they shouldn't persist to be a problem. But they definitely like to come and nibble on some of these peppers. They don't like to mess with the spicy peppers, but they definitely come in here and mess with the sweet peppers, which is the purple Murasaki peppers over here. So I'm just coming up in here and cleaning up the damage that they've done. Just want to show y'all what mice can do to your garden if left somewhat unchecked. So now the peppers are gonna ripen off really good, and we'll have a lot more success with them now that the mice are getting out of the picture. But if you see up in here, we got some Thai chilies up in here we gotta harvest. The mice don't want nothing to do with these. Doesn't surprise me at all. They're all the way down up in here, and I'm not worried about the branches bending and stuff like that. They'll recover, they'll come back. Very strong plants. So now that we're over here, let's give y'all an over the top view of what's going on with these eggplants over here. This is what I'm talking about with these mice. They will terrorize your garden. So you have to take care of them. You have to really get rid of them. Otherwise, they will make a home in your garden and just nibble away and be eating at everything in your garden. What I'm doing here is getting this all cleaned up. And the messed up part about it is they'll nibble on some of the plants, and they'll just kind of do a little bit of damage to them, but it ruins the fruit. But anything they don't get to, you better believe we're gonna be trying to get it out of the way so that they can't get to it. You can see we have all these good fruit here that are all really soon ready to harvest, and we got peppers all up in there. These peppers are pretty much ready, so we got to do some harvesting for sure. You can see these eggplants, there's more up in here that are taking root, ready to harvest. But unfortunately, so these Berkeley pink tie-dye tomatoes here, we're gonna let them hang around till fall and see if they produce a little something. But it's kind of looking like they don't want to really do much for me. So like I said, we'll keep an eye out on them, really make sure that they ain't a true dud. But one thing that does remain true is we have to keep clearing out some of these leaves up in here, because we really need to make sure that the plants aren't too wet. So I don't want too much moisture up in here. And we can also see some of these leaves in particular I'm looking out for, because I'm thinking that some of these leaves are where these squash vine borers are trying to come in to do their thing. I'm gonna go ahead and trim these out, because I think that these spinach plants got spider mites, and they have aphids for sure. What's going on up in here? See, they got stuff going on with them, so we're gonna go ahead and get these spinach out of here. It's bolting and all kinds of other stuff. Do away with the spinach plants. And I'm gonna plant some different greens in some different spots. But these spots are getting taken over by all of these other plants. So I don't want too much plant growth in one spot, because that doesn't cause good plant growth, and you get all this powdery mildew starting to pop up, and it's a mess. So we get rid of that before it becomes a big problem, and let some of this sunlight really break through all this. And the sunlight really helps clear the powdery mildew issue out. Just having direct sunlight on your plants does wonders. We'll plant more spinach, but I just want to make sure that this area is cleared out. And this vine right here, we're gonna cut this vine back here, right in front of this fruit, just in case this fruit decides it wants to take root. If you can catch this too, we got some Taiwan yard long beans that's growing up through the brush there and really taking root as well. So we just need to get all this cleaned up. You see we got some Turkish orange eggplants all up in there growing, all healthy. We got the Sugar Rush cream peppers all up in there growing healthy. So we'll be harvesting those later. And we got the zucchini now to a point where I feel good with where they are, and I don't see any squash vine borers inside the stems of the plants yet. So I'm just keeping an eye out for them. We're gonna keep an eye out for everything, keep protecting our plants here, and really make sure that these bugs ain't getting into too much trouble. Look at that, y'all see that? Y'all see that baby praying mantis? Ah, that's awesome. I don't know if y'all can see that, but man, that is awesome. But as they grow and as the mice have been taken care of, we'll be good to go. So one more thing that I'm planning to do here is to get rid of this comfrey in this pot right here. I'm gonna cut, for now, I'm just gonna be cutting all this off here. And I'm gonna be adding all these leaves here to our other stuff here, so we can really take advantage of all this. But what I want to do with this pot is add some sweet pepper plants to this pot right here. The comfrey has really helped get the microbiology established in this pot. I'm thankful for it. But now what I want to do is get this nice and mixed up a little bit. Now we got the roots out. We might have comfrey sprouts popping up here and there, but that's okay. What we're really going to focus on now is getting our peppers planted in here and then establishing them. So right here, all I'm planning to do is just plant me some greens around the edges and plant some peppers in the middle. I'm going to plant 2 of these Serrero, I guess they're called Serrero peppers. Maybe called something else, I'm sorry. I'm going to also plant some of the early Mabuna around the edges here. Try to get all this comfrey root out of there. So go ahead and sprinkle some of these here. So here we have 5, 10, 15, 22. So here we have 22 seeds. So there's about 12 burrow holes here. So I'm gonna drop 2 seeds in each hole. 1, 2. And I think we hit every hole, and if we didn't, that's okay. Not expecting perfection here, just trying to get some seeds planted. So next up we have the Serrero peppers. These are a sweet pepper. So we're gonna go ahead and plant in the center here 2 separate plants. We're gonna plant one right here. We're gonna plant one right here. And we're gonna let both of those plants go, but we're gonna plant 2 seeds per hole. That's 2, and that's 4. So we'll grab these 2 right here, go 1, 2, just like that. Grab these and go. Kind of stuck together a little bit, so we gotta separate them. There we go. 1, 2, just like that. And I want to take some of these Cubanelle peppers here, and I want to plant some of these over here in this pot, because as you can see, we have some Cubanelle peppers germinated here, but I also want to have some up in this area over here. So I'm going to make a little bit of a pushback and get a little deeper where we got some like nice and moist soil here. I'm going to plant 2 more seeds over here. So we got 2 seeds in that hole. I'm gonna bury that and put the mulch back over it a little bit so it can have a little moisture saved in there. And over here, I'm just experimenting with some cheesecloth holding this watermelon here, this blacktail watermelon. And we also have another blacktail watermelon over here that you probably saw when I walked in. So now we're just gonna take all these leaves right here, bring them right on over to our fertilizer mix, that sauce Lioncrest, whatever you want to call it. We're gonna bring it right on over there and add it to our bank account. And I'm gonna add it roots and all, because I want to get a bang off of this, and this is gonna be my recharge for the 2-year-old batch of this that we got. So yes, I like to add additions to what we got going on already. And I'm gonna pick up all the stragglers that I'm dropping along the way. But as you can see, we already got some added to the pile, but we gotta add some more. Some more. And then what I do with this is I just take my stick here, I just push this on down. Push this on down just like this. I'll flip it on over, and I'll give it a little push down. But I'll use my stick to push this down, because to be honest with y'all, I don't want to get that on me. But you can see that this stuff is nice and cured up. It is definitely alive and kicking. But this is, like I said, the 2-year-old batch. We're just adding all this to it, and it's gonna digest all those beautiful leaves and vines we got there. We're just gonna finish up by adding a little bit of water to our plants, to our seeds that we just planted over here. Just want to get a little water down on them. So here's how we're gonna do it. We go with shower. Shout out to Giraffe Tools hose reel over here. We're gonna go with shower. We're gonna just water these in. Water our seedlings in the hose reel. Where the comfrey used to be at, we're gonna have some nice greens and some peppers right in the middle. We're gonna get some water down on the freshly planted Cubanelle pepper. We got our little seedling here. Just want to get some water down so that we can initiate germination. Look at that beautiful basil over here.
So I hope y'all enjoyed that time in the garden as much as I did. I had a wonderful time out here getting the garden cleaned up some, getting some fresh fuel for the fertilizer added, getting some new seeds planted, doing all kinds of good stuff. We even got a little harvest going. So remember to stay vigilant in the garden, keep the pollination going, keep good watering habits. We'll ride the train of success to the end of the season, into the fall. So much love to y'all. So y'all know what that means. That's Farmer Q, out.